My dear friends, again, what a sincere joy it is to be here. And since my brother, my Universal Baptist, has quoted Rumi, I feel obliged also to start with a Rumi quote. Rumi talks about the strangeness of our journey. I'm a Muslim, you're a Jew, you're a Christian, you're this, you're that. He says, we all arrived here a little bit tipsy. And you go through life and you realize that this drunkenness must have started in some other tavern. And that's when the journey really starts. So now, what is the problem with getting together as people of different religions? You can call it interfaith dialogue, interfaith spirituality. What's in the way? I come from an area called Bengal. We have a wonderful poet called Tagore. He said, while God waits for his temple to be made out of love, man brings stones. We have made religion an institution. And Islamic mystics talk about the egoization of the institution. I have enough white hair to know that the quality or the bad quality of politics, a very poor interpersonal relationship, is worse in a house of worship. You must know that if there is one person who causes problems, it really affects the entire organization. And the politics is very rife because for the sake of Allah, you will do this. You'll hurt somebody because it's for the sake of Jesus, sake of Elohim. So the egoization is very, very egoistic, you might say. The Quran says the main reason we are here on earth is to transform our ego. That wonderful mystic Kabir, that 15th century mystic, says, here comes that wonderful priest in his orange robes, in his flowing vestments, orange robes, but if inside there is no color, what use is it? He says this wonderful priest, rubs and rubs and rubs his ethical skin. But if inside there is no music, what use is it? So the institution also, like the human being, say all the great teachers, has to align itself with its soul. Just like the human being. Rumi says, marry your soul. That wedding is the way. But are we doing that in the institution? This is where in Islam, Sufis have come into existence. You see, to say you're a Sufi in Islam is the height of arrogance. Because it's simply a state of wanting to be, an aspiration. So in Muslim countries, we don't say I'm a Sufi. Here we say I'm a Sufi because just to identify ourselves. But it is when Islam was spreading to the four corners of the world in the 7th century, in 32 years, it had spread all over. In less than a century, it was the biggest world empire the world has ever seen for 1,000 years. But at that time, a group of people began to emerge, calling themselves Sufis and saying, all this is kind of nice. What about the spirit of the tradition? What about living the tradition? How about doing the work of transformation, the inner work? And they began to be known as Sufis. So just for your information, Sufis originally are Muslims who can be Sunni or Shia, those are the two denominations. Muslims who just aspire to live the spirit of their tradition. Okay, so now it's customary in Islam to talk about what it means when the institution has become egoized. Just like the human being, if one does not transform the ego, if one does not transform the institution, it has a very, very high opinion of itself. In Islam you say, watch the priest's nose. It's always up. And here's a Mullah Nasruddin story to talk about how we as human beings or institutions think so highly of ourselves. It's a familiar story. It's a Ramadan moonlit night. See, for Ramadan you have to become aware of the moon. When the moon comes out, it's the end of Ramadan after a long time. So the mullah is walking along one moonlit night, and he happens to look down this well, and he's shocked. He finds the moon has fallen in the water, in the well. He says, "Sister Moon, please fear not, I shall save you. We need you for Ramadan." He goes home, gets a big rope with a hook, he puts it in the well, and he tugs and pulls. It must have gotten hold of something. He pulls really hard for the sake of the moon to come out, and something happens and he falls on his back, and he sees the moon restored to its proper domain. And he says, "Thank God I came along." Our institutions say the same thing for your sake. Then there is the problem of the ego attachment. We idolize our way, the only way, the best way, and you will like it. There's a wonderful story in Buddhism of this monk who is so devoted, so attached to his particular Buddha statue. And only his Buddha statue. Others are not so good. He happens to go to an international conference, and he enters this huge room, and there are all the different statues placed there where the people go inside the meeting room, and he very devoutly, lovingly, tenderly takes his statue, puts it there, and says, "Excuse me, I'll go inside the room." He says, "Oh, let me light an incense." He lights the incense, but he doesn't want to share the incense with the other gods. So he makes a little funnel. This is only for you, my God. He keeps a funnel there, he goes to a meeting, comes back, and here's the end of the story. He comes back, he finds that the incense smoke has blackened the nose of his Buddha God. And it looks so ugly. This is what happens when we get so attached to our particular way. Hindus say, enlightened swamis and gurus, if you get so attached to your institution and you can't let go of that particular way, you're like the monkey who gets caught. I don't know if you know how monkeys are caught in our part of the world. It's very easy actually. You take a dried coconut, it's empty inside, you put a little hole and some food inside, some solid food inside the coconut, dried coconut, and the hole is just big enough for the monkey to sort of make its fist like this and put the hand inside. And the coconut is tied to a tree. And the hunter that's lying there, gossiping, sleeping, they know the monkey will be caught. The monkey comes, it puts his fist in this fashion, puts it in, grabs the food, but now cannot take his fist out. It tries, it screams, shrieks, and all the hunters are laughing there, and it tries to pull. All it has to do is just let go. But it doesn't, and it gets caught. The Hindus say this is the story of our lives and the lives of our institution. And because we cannot let go of this being the only way, we find our